Hey
Coach.
guys, sorry to keep you waiting.
Ready to go, Coach?
Yeah, good to go.
All right, we can start off with Anthony Dasher and then William Newen.
Hey, Scott.
Hey, Anthony.
Talking to Coach Kenny earlier today, talking about y'all's use of analytics and the TrackMan that I know he's really excited about having this year. Every year, it seems like analytics has become a bigger part of what you guys do. Just as far as the TrackMan is concerned, what are you learning from that?
Well, you know what? As a baseball coach, for so many years, we've been telling our pitchers to get the ball down, and you hear that all the time. And what we found out is there's certain types of pitchers that don't need to throw the ball down. So the analytics kind of play that out with guys that have what's called vertical break. The ball ends up being a lot higher than where it's supposed to end up, and that's why you see a lot of guys that throw high fastballs, and for some reason hitters can't hit it. They swing and miss through it, even though it might be 88, 89 miles an hour. It looks hittable, but it's not. And now we're getting some information that kind of confirms that it's going to be better for this particular pitcher to throw up in the zone. And there's certainly pitchers that need to throw down in the zone as well. And the other thing it does is just with the slow motion cameras and the spin rates, and we can kind of match up where they're throwing, kind of tunneling, we call it, where they're throwing a fastball and a curveball and a changeup, and it needs to come out of the same tunnel. And as a hitter, if a hitter is seeing a breaking ball for whatever reason, this guy's got a good breaking ball, but it always gets hit. When you put those slow motion cameras together and you look at the spin and the movement, you can see maybe they come out of different tunnels. So it's almost telling the hitter, hey, here comes the curveball. Even though it's a good pitch, you're tipping off what's coming. So yeah, it is amazing the technology that we have now and what we can see and how we can pass it along to our players. Our players are smarter and smarter when it comes to this stuff, so they kind of know what we're talking about when we say it.
Just one real quick follow-up, Coach. How are y'all handling the extra innings this year? Is it going to be like the major leagues last season? Or is that kind of still to be determined?
Well, the way that we're going to do it in non-conference games, it's going to be agreed upon before the game.
Okay.
So we're allowed to start with a runner on second base in the 10th inning of extra innings if we agree before the game. In the SEC, we're actually meeting tomorrow, a Zoom call with all the coaches to finalize how we're going to do it. And what it looks like is it's only going to happen on getaway day. We'll play regular rules on Friday and Saturday. And then if we get to Sunday and it's a getaway day with travel restrictions, meaning a team flew a commercial flight in that leaves at 6:00 and we've got a drop dead time at 3:30, then we'll do it. But I think you're going to see most of the games that we play with the traditional rules of extra innings. And, unless someone brings a really good case to me of why we should try to speed up our game when it comes to extra innings, I would prefer to keep it the same, except for if we've got some kind of extenuating circumstances with getting out of town.
I appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, thanks for being here. We keep hearing a lot about, the talent being retained from the shortened draft, and, this is going to be the best college baseball that we've seen. What do you think that's going to look like practically when you get deeper into the season, into SEC play? Will it have like a tangible effect on how you're approaching these teams? And then could you also speak to, the effect on your own depth?
Well, to talk about our depth, Ryan Webb and CJ Smith are certainly two guys that we didn't expect to have back this year that we do have back. So we did benefit from the shortened draft. Obviously, we lost Emerson Hancock and Cole Wilcox and Tucker Bradley and Cam Shepard signed just because they're getting old. I mean, quite frankly, when you talk about baseball, when you're 22 years old, it's time to get going. So, they decided to come back. But guys like Riley King and CJ Smith and Ryan Webb, we benefited from that, but so did every other team. And then on the other side of it, with the shortened draft, the 5 rounds, the high school kids, the fewer and fewer high school kids were drafted. So a lot of those kids showed up. So overall, the talent, I think it will be top to bottom as good as you've ever seen. You're going to see a lot of non-conference teams come in here with a bunch of older players, guys that are fifth-year seniors that would have graduated last year. Now all of a sudden they're coming back to play. And Evansville is an example. They almost have their entire team back from last year, including a bunch of seniors that they didn't expect to be back. So you're just going to see a lot better baseball, I think, from top to bottom. And as far as how we approach it, you just have to be ready for a war every weekend. And that's in our league. It's really no different than it always is as far as the talent goes, except for I think the volume's turned up a little bit. I think it's a little bit better than it's ever been. And I think our non-conference opponents are the same.
All right, next we'll go to Austin Roper and Mark Weiser.
Hey, Coach. So I'm a little curious about how preseason, like the schedule or practice has been so far this year due to COVID and anything that might have changed. I mean, have you had to force some position groups to spend a day or two at a different position just in preparation of like a worst case scenario situation where you have, your top starters at one position out because of contact tracing or positive tests?
Yeah, that's a good question. And to be honest with you, we're really fortunate to have a lot of depth when it comes to our position players. So, for example, Riley King, that guy can play anywhere. So, he takes ground balls at third, he takes fly balls in left and right. Josh McAllister's the same way. When we do our inter squads today, we'll play 7 innings, and our infielders will play all 3 positions. We'll have them at second, we'll have them at short, we'll have them at third. Same with the outfielders. We move those guys around. We do have 4 catchers on our team as well, and Lane Watkins is a 5th catcher. So we're really deep everywhere. If we get hit with COVID, we feel like that we've got guys that can fill in and move around. Much like you look at a football roster, they got a ton of depth. They may lose their frontline guys, and your frontline guys for a reason. But we do feel like that we've got a lot of depth and some guys that can move around and play a lot of different positions.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Hey, Mark.
You mentioned losing Hancock and Wilcox. What's the state of your pitching staff? Obviously, those are some special talented guys. Do you feel like that you can just kind of plug in year after year with the way you guys are now as a program?
Well, I wish you could plug in Emerson Hancock and Cole Wilcox every year. Those guys are, as Coach Kenny always says, they're aliens. You don't see them very often. Those guys are so talented, and the 6'5" and athletic and smart as whips and just coachable kids. Those guys are really, really hard to find. But you got Jonathan Cannon and Ryan Webb and CJ Smith, 3 frontline starters that are back for us and really talented kids. And we've dealt with some with some tough news coming back to school. Ryan Webb was COVID, so he's behind a little bit. Probably we're not going to see him opening weekend. He's throwing the ball 95 miles an hour. He looks normal. We got to build him up. And when you got guys that are high draft picks like that, you got to take care of them. And Jonathan Cannon has been diagnosed with mono a couple weeks ago. Again, he looks great. He feels great, but you've got to build him up, and you got to build him up slowly. So both of those guys are very questionable for opening weekend, only because we're just being cautious. But what you're going to see is a bunch of people that you haven't heard from because they're freshmen or guys that redshirted last year. You're going to see those guys on the mound. And we think in the long run that can be very beneficial for us because we're going to be building some depth. But to say that we can plug and play every year with guys like that, those guys are hard to find. But when we get everybody back, when we get healthy, and we feel like, probably by weekend 3, with Cannon back, with Webb back, we've got a couple other guys, Michael Polk and Logan Moody, and guys that have been dinged up a little bit. We feel like that we're going to be pretty close to at full strength by weekend number 3. And then when you talk about really talented kids, we had some tough blows happen to us in the fall, and we're seeing this across college baseball. And I don't know if it's COVID related or what the deal is, but Garrett Brown and Will Childers, we lost them in the fall, and they will not pitch this season. So guys that were going to pitch a significant amount of innings for us and give a lot of veteran leadership are gone due to Tommy John surgery, both of them. And I hate it for them. I hate it for us. But again, that gives more opportunities for our young guys.
Okay. And then we'll go to Chip Towers and Evan Lassiter.
Hey, Scott, good to see you. With specifically on Riley King, I mean, this is a guy that played just about every position on the field in your 16 games last year. Specific to him, what does it mean to have a guy like that back? That in a normal year, I guess you I guess I'm asking you, in a normal year, you probably wouldn't have a guy like this back, right?
Yeah, correct. And we talked about Ryan Webb and CJ Smith too are in that category. Guys that probably would have gone in a normal draft class. But yeah, Riley's team leader. He's captain last year, be voted captain again this year, and he can play everywhere. He really can. He's that guy. If we wanted to have some fun and have someone play one position for every inning, he would be that guy that could do it. But just such a team leader, just universally respected by everybody because of how hard he works, how good of a person he is. I mean, he is that guy. He really is. Kirby came out today and filmed his first pitch, and Riley was in studying, and Kirby walked past him, and I said, "That's Riley King," and Kirby knew who he was. So everybody knows who Riley King is on this campus, and a lot of respect for the kind of kid he is. Not to mention what kind of a player he is.
Hey, Coach. So I know a few of your guys recently started the G Series initiative. So as they continue to talk about social justice and organize around it, kind of what is your role in helping them do that, and how do you support them through that?
Well, just allowing them to have those conversations and to have the space to do it and have the freedom to do it. And we've had several team meetings. We've had several guest speakers to come in to talk to our players just to give them different perspectives because, a lot of us, we have our perspective and we don't hear other people's perspectives. So that's what I've told our players. I think it's really important to open up your mind and open up your ears to listen, to see, to understand what some other people are thinking that might have different viewpoints from you. And it's okay to have different viewpoints, but I think it's really important for us to open our ears up and open our eyes up to what else is going on around us and to listen to how people feel and to have empathy for that. And that's probably been the biggest word. Let's empathize with others. Let's try to open it up and figure out what they're feeling and what they're thinking. And these guys, and Josh Stinson and D.A. Allen and Riley King did such a great job kicking it off for us this past week. And we're going to continue to do it. And we talked about it over the summer when a lot of these issues came to the forefront, that this isn't just a one-day thing. It's just not a one-team meeting thing. We're going to continue to do this and have conversations. Our kids have been outstanding and just really proud of them. And they're going to continue to speak their mind and let their feelings be heard. And I think what we can do, all of us can do, is, again, open up our ears, open up our eyes, and let's empathize with each other and try to find common ground and understand where we're all coming from.
Okay, and then we'll go to Zach Klein for our last question.
Hey, Coach, good seeing you. I think I had this correct, but only one out of your first 20 games out of the state of Georgia. How do you think that might help you, not only from just being together at home, not having the physical toll of traveling, but also from a health and safety standpoint?
Well, a lot of that. Obviously, the travel standpoint is huge, and that's a big obstacle that we have to deal with when we go on the road. Instead of taking one bus, we got to take two. We have to be spaced out more when we eat. It's tougher to eat in restaurants. We have to have stuff catered in. So there are a lot of obstacles. So playing at home helps us out. There's no question. And being in the South, when you look at our opponents, Evansville's coming down, they're in Indiana and they're going to deal with tough weather, and they come down to the better weather. And so that's what you normally see at this time. North Florida is the kind of exception of the rule. They're coming up north to play a little bit in weekend 3, but it's nice to have the facilities that we have, the weather that we have, to have people come in to play us. And it helps with the COVID issues. It helps with the travel. It helps us to kind of corral our players a little bit better. And then hopefully when we get into the SEC and we start moving around and traveling a little bit more, let's keep our fingers crossed. These numbers keep going down. Things can start to get back to normal slowly, but hopefully, but surely. But yeah, it definitely helps early on for us to be here in Athens and kind of stay in our bubble.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Coach.